What's up, guys? Welcome to Everything Pickleball. Today, we're here to talk about one of the best control paddles you haven't heard about, and that is the KiwiLabs Slice. It has been my go-to paddle for several months now. Due to its unique shape, it is one of the most forgiving paddles I have ever play tested. And yes, the core thickness is 16 millimeters, and this paddle is currently being dubbed as a budget Joola Scorpeus. Before I get into this review, I have to say thanks to everybody who has liked, commented, or subscribed to my channel based on my first video. That has exceeded all of my expectations, and I have to give special thanks where it is due. And for that, I am going to give away a brand new KiwiLabs Slice paddle. And all you have to do in order to win this paddle is to subscribe to my YouTube channel and follow me on Instagram. My Instagram will be linked in the description below, and I will choose a winner in 7 days. So once again, I really do appreciate all my early support, and I hope that I can do more giveaways in the future. Thank you, guys. As always, I want to give you guys an upfront summary. What is the KiwiLabs Slice? A control paddle with good power and good pop? That sounds too good to be true, right? The KiwiLabs Slice is a fantastic paddle that has been overlooked by many. Out of all the hybrid shaped paddles I have tested so far, this is by far my favorite. It has been the most forgiving, and it's the only one I didn't need to add lead tape to. The sweet spot on this paddle is practically edge to edge, and you won't feel much of a difference with off-center shots. I've had some insane resets while using this paddle. When it comes to power and pop, it is very well balanced. The paddle is thermoform, so there still is plenty of power and pop for drives and putaways, and over time, this paddle will soften, making it a top tier control paddle. When it comes to spin, I did not test it and I do not know what the RPM ratings are. I've had no issues getting the ball to dip on my drives, and I believe it is average when compared to other raw carbon face paddles. This paddle was originally known for its thicker grip, but now comes in 2 grip sizes. So if you watched other review videos and you were skeptical about the paddle because of its grip size, no need to worry, they offer 2 sizes now to accommodate most players. On their website, the paddle is listed for $145, which does not include shipping. The standard shipping rate seems to be around $10, so after you use the coupon code EVERYTHINGPB at checkout, you'll get the paddle for around $140. Now that's going to vary depending on where you live, the shipping rate, and your state taxes. Overall, I don't have any complaints about this paddle. For under $150, you get a solid control paddle that is thermoform with a low swing weight, making this an easy paddle to recommend to beginners or intermediate players. Whether you are just learning the game of pickleball or you want to get better at drops, resets, and blocks, this paddle is hard not to love. Before I go any further, I do have to mention the break-in period for thermoform paddles. If you buy this paddle or any thermoform paddle, you should give it at least 2 weeks before deciding if it is the paddle for you. Out of the box, thermoform paddles may feel very stiff and rigid. Over time, they will tend to soften and play a lot better. So be patient and give it at least 2 weeks before making a decision. I see a lot of people selling their paddles within a few playing sessions, and it's just not long enough to get a good feel for a paddle. I decided to pick up this paddle after my second double black diamond had suffered from core crushing, making it unusable. 6.0 was sold out at the time, and they had just released an updated model that addressed the issue. Since the wait period was so long, I decided to give this paddle a try, which I thought was going to be the closest comparison to a 6.0 double black diamond, and I'm glad I did. This paddle excels around the kitchen and transition zone, aka no man's land. This paddle can turn you into a resetting machine. It has helped me avoid unwanted pop-ups, learn to drop shot blocks, and it has enough touch to just gently drop it over the net. I believe this paddle can be a great beginner paddle to learn the game with. This paddle can be effective at all levels of play. Control paddles can be used to learn a variety of shots, and if you don't like drilling but want to learn shots while playing, you should have a control paddle in the bag. They have a larger sweet spot to reduce mishits, making them more forgiving. They play softer so you can learn the importance of grip pressure. You also will learn to move the ball around. You won't win by overpowering your opponents. You have to place the ball and create openings for putaways. Learning to move the ball around can easily take you to the next level. I want to give you guys my final thoughts on the Kiwi Slice here. And I want to start off by saying, even though I love this paddle a lot and it is my favorite paddle, it doesn't mean it's going to be the right paddle for you. This paddle allows me to take advantage of where I excel, but also helps me in areas I struggle. And that is going to be with resetting and drops and blocks without popping them up. And so I say that because, I want other people who are watching other reviews to understand that when a paddle reviewer chooses their paddle, that is likely what they are doing as well. They choose a paddle that really helps them with their weaknesses, but also allows them to take advantage of their strengths. So when you hear a paddle reviewer rave about a particular paddle and that's the one that they want to play with, just keep that in mind, and you have to debate whether that paddle is going to be the same for you. And so I don't want you rushing out and buying a paddle that isn't right for you. You have to really debate on what is your strengths and what are your weaknesses and which paddle may help you the most. So to wrap up this, I want to just briefly say, the KiwiLabs Slice is by far my favorite paddle that I've play tested. And one of the reasons I noticed it excelled for me was I've been play testing the Black Diamond from 6.0, and that paddle has a well-defined sweet spot. And what I mean by that is if you hit a off-center shot, the ball will not travel with the same pace that it does when hitting the sweet spot. And the question is, how much pace does it lose compared to hitting it in that sweet spot? And that's a real hard thing to measure. You have to just base it on feel. And I will say my initial play, and I've played with it a few nights, there's been quite a few balls that I just didn't get back over the net because I didn't hit the sweet spot or I hit the outer perimeter of the paddle. And with the Kiwi Slice, I just don't notice that I do that very often. It is very minimal. I have to say that off-center shots still travel with probably 70 to 80% of the normal pace that it does with the sweet spot. And that's what makes this paddle so great. And I didn't really realize it till I started playing with the Black Diamond again, because I've been playing with a lot of control paddles lately. And I think if you try a forgiving paddle and a control paddle like the Kiwi Slice, it's going to be really hard to go back to any power paddle where if you're not hitting the sweet spot, balls just aren't making it back over the net and you're just losing points that you didn't want to lose. And if you use that paddle long enough, you're going to think it's you as a player, but in reality, there's just better paddles out there that you can be using. And I'm not trying to sell the KiwiLabs Slice here. Keep that in mind when you're using different paddles that are meant for power. Those paddles are really generally for advanced players who don't have to worry about hitting the sweet spot as much as an average player. And I think that you should consider that when buying any paddle, because that's going to make a really big difference in your game and how much you enjoy the game as well. Because let's be honest, we're all here to just have fun. And I think it is important that you have the right paddle to do that and to go out there and have a good time, so you're not getting frustrated at yourself when a lot of the times it just could be the paddle. And I'm not saying that for everybody, but just keep that in mind when you're debating on paddles. The forgiveness of the paddle can really help you enjoy the game a lot more. And that's why I have come to love the KiwiLabs Slice.
Power and pop, 8 out of 10. This paddle is thermoform and has a good balance between power and pop. Control, 9.5 out of 10. Because this paddle softens over time, it really excels in the kitchen and transition zone, making it a top tier control paddle. Forgiveness and sweet spot, 9.5 out of 10. Because this has the biggest sweet spot of any paddle I've played with so far, it's also the most forgiving. Spin, 7.5 out of 10. The spin is average when compared to other thermoformed raw face paddles. They have made some changes to add more spin, but I have only play tested early production models.
That's a wrap. Up next is the Vactic Prism Flash, and I am currently playtesting the 6.0 Black Diamond. I hope to get my hands on a new paddle from 6.0 and Pickleball Apes here in the near future. As always, thanks for watching, and hopefully I will catch you in the next one.